What's good, y'all? It's Wanyá. I do art. Follow me on all my socials. Instagram, Etsy. That's about it.
Hello and welcome to today's GTA 5 online video. Today we're taking a look at something quite cool, something quite fun, and a little, honestly, different. So back in the day, this used to be a fairly consistent type of video you might see on the channel. But, you know, not really as much anymore. That, of course, is taking a look at all the cars in my garage. So, let's hop into that. So, first of all, this is my primary garage here. This is my main area. This is the auto shop or whatever from the Tuners DLC, the second most recent DLC, and we're gonna go through some of these because this is a prime cars. This is really where we gotta get with the hard-hitting cars. Of course, we have a few other garages to take a look at, but this one's up first. This garage features the cars that you most likely see throughout the race playlist, which, of course, there has been 100 and something episodes of those, 120 by the time this video goes out, I believe. So, there's been a good amount of race playlists. Let's see. By the time this video goes out, there will have been 122 episodes of the race playlist. So, most likely you've seen these cars at some point in a video, and if not, there's been over 400 GTA videos on this channel since 2015. So there's a good chance most of these cars have been seen on the channel. So let's start here with the Fister Neon. Fister Neon is a car that occasionally gets brought out in the race playlist, but is more frequently just driven by me in free mode. It's a car that I enjoy based on the Porsche Taycan, which is my favorite electric car. Not super big on electric cars. I've said it multiple times on the channel. But if there is an electric car that I like, it is the Porsche Taycan. And, well, the Fister Neon being that, I'd like to drive it quite frequently in the free mode. Next up is the Benefactor R Br8. Is it Br8? Br8. This is my primary go-to open-wheel car to race based on the Formula 1 cars from 2009 and 2010. It's based a little bit on the 2009 Braun, 2010 Red Bull, and Mercedes. So it's a sort of combination of those three cars. And, well, I wanted this style. I love this style of the F1 cars from the early 2010s with the higher up nose. It just looks absolutely brilliant. That complicated front wing. And it also has the Mercedes livery, based similar to what they have with the Petronas sort of logo being in the blue, leading to a bunch of spots where it has Mercedes logo. So, of course, very similar to that. And it has Junk, which, of course, is an energy drink in the game. Kind of similar to Monster and Red Bull. So, it kind of works on this car. So, I got it silver and black. Very similar to that. And the tires being Chapelle, which, of course, is Pirelli. And it's got yellow like the medium tires in F1. Next up over here, we have the older 90s style F1 car. This is the Progen Pr4 with the old Williams livery. I believe it's based on the McLarens and Williams from back then. This is one that I've raced quite frequently in the older race playlist in 2020 when Open Races first came out, as opposed to the 2022 editions that feature this car. But this here, brilliant car. I have the Williams livery just because I wanted to use the McLaren one from the 90s, but everybody kind of used that. So it was one that didn't really go well. I wanted to stand out. So we got this one instead. Eating and then recording was not a good idea. Doesn't go well. Need to have a little bit of time for the food to process. And I didn't do that, so we're just jumping into content recording. Great idea by me. That's why I'm coughing a little bit here and there. Alright, next up is the Benefactor Cracker. Of course, my favorite supercar in the game. based on my favorite car in real life, the Mercedes-AMG 1. And this is that car, of course, in the game, the main car that you see throughout any videos in the past few years. One of the primary cars in the race playlist. Again, in silver, the main color that Mercedes is known for, known as the silver arrows, of course, in the racing context. So, have the silver there. And, you know, the German flag striped through the middle of it looks absolutely brilliant. I love this car, and it is so much fun to drive and race. Next up is the Progen Amorous, based on the McLaren Senna, which is another absolutely awesome car that did a great job capturing that look of the Senna, including the glass in the door. Not one that gets raced frequently. I have it more just purely for the fact that it is, well, the McLaren Senna. And again, the cars in this garage will not be sold. They're most likely 100% guaranteed to never be sold. Next up is the Cockette D10. Now this here is an updated Cockette, which is based on the new Corvette C8. And, well, it is absolutely wild with that engine in the back here. This just looks like a pure supercar at this point. I believe it is in the sports class. It gets raced occasionally. It doesn't handle the best, so it doesn't really get featured in that context. But it is a car that I like because the Cockette was the first car that I ever drove in GTA 5 online. Before I even owned the game, my brother owned it. He had a purple Cockette, of course, the original one at the time. That's why this car is purple. I drove it. That's when I fell in love with playing GTA and that car specifically. So we will see a Cockette later on in the game, but this one here, the newer version, super, super cool. Now we have the Gauntlet GTO, which I believe is based on the Ferrari 812 Superfast, which is the replacement for the F12 Bravado, which is a car I absolutely love. And the 812 Superfast is an absolute beast. This is the main sports car we see, as the Cracker is the main supercar, and the Br8 is the main open wheel car. This is the main sports car, one of the 3 premier cars featured on the channel throughout a race playlist. This one here, absolutely brilliant with that kind of light blue look. It is an absolute beautiful car to look at. Next up is Benefactor Schlagen Gt, of course in silver, as all my Benefactors are. This one here is the Mercedes AMG GT, which is one of my favorite cars, and I just absolutely love it. It is the second sports car. I haven't raced it recently in a race playlist, but at the of the ones I've recorded, it probably will get featured again in episodes prior to this video. But I want to just jump in, race this car, and yeah. Next up, we have the Ocelot X821. This is the only car that I forget what it's based off of, if I'm honest. I'm going to actually Google that real quick. Like most cars, I can place what it's based off of without even having to look it up. I just know, okay, this is based on this car. But it's got to be some Jaguar, I'm assuming. It's an Ocelot. Jaguar Cx75. Oh, it's a concept car from the early 2010s. Yeah, okay, I see it. It also has a inspiration from the Jaguar F-Type, the Maserati Gran Turismo, a little bit of the McLaren P1, Koenigsegg Regera, Aston Martin DBC concept. So this one here, that's also partially why it's a little hard to tell, because it combines influences from a few different cars, where a lot of these you can purely tell it's one car. This one here takes inspiration from quite a few different cars, but I like it. It's a unique supercar. It doesn't really get featured much on the channel, but it's one of those ones that I really, really enjoy racing in free mode. So, we now come to the big boss of them all. The car that I've driven the most in GTA. The key car through the race playlist, through the first over half of the history of that series. This car, the Progen T20. Now, the T20 is based on the McLaren P1, which is my second favorite supercar, and was my favorite supercar until the Mercedes AMG 1 came out. So this year was my favorite supercar for quite a few years, really until about 2020. I kind of sort of changed my mind, and of course this car had been out since 2013. So it had been a few years like the McLaren P1. Progen T20 came out in 2015. The second car to break the over $1 million barrier in the game, and the first car to break the $2 million barrier of car prices in the game. Of course, a relatively normal thing we see now is $1.5 to $2 million cars, but back in 2015, the Osiris that came out, and that blew the adder out of the water, and the T20 came in and beat that price just a month later. So it was wild times, and a car that I've loved so much, and of course it doesn't get raced much now. I mean, it still stacks up, but it just can't necessarily hang as much as like a Cracker or some other supercars that you may see throughout the game. So we're gonna jump into the Fister Neon here, and we're gonna head on out to my office. Now, the office is an area that features the bulk of the cars. These are the ones, in that garage. Those are my prime cars. Those are the ones that I absolutely love, race the most, drive the most in free mode, all of the above. But there's no, room for every single car in this garage. So the office garage became my main storage area. Of course, it used to be the prime garage. So we're going to head to office garage number 1. And we're going to take a look. Now, we're not going to necessarily spend all the time on those cars. That was 10 minutes to go over those 10 cars. But, we're going to run through here, take a look at everything in this garage, head to the casino, and then just open up the phone and see what else we have. Now, I believe there may be a few cars that are exploded from free mode.
Morse Mutual, how can I be of service?
Yes.
I'll look into it.
God damn it, I gotta call you 3 times, dude. Why can't I just claim all my cars at once, dude? Why can't I just do that? Let me do what I would like to do, dude.
Morse Mutual Insurance, how can we help you? Okay.
Alright. One more call. Get back my tank that got destroyed.
MMI, we expect the
Alright, so let's start in here. This is the first level. These are kind of like the next tier. Most of these cars, besides the tires, which is just there. This is like the next tier. These are cars that a few of these were in the other garage until just recently. But we're going to start with the Benefactor Schlagen Gt. Sports classic based on the old Mercedes Gullwing from 50s. Absolutely stunning car. I just want to acknowledge Mercedes are my favorite cars, so they are here. Which may be funny, the Mercedes is my favorite car, being a fan of Red Bull Formula 1 team. But there's a difference in the on-track racing and the cars themselves. Plus, I do like Mercedes F1 team. I'm not going to lie. They're like, if I wasn't rooting for Red Bull, I'd be rooting for Mercedes. So, Benefactor Schlagen Gt, absolutely brilliant car. Next up is the Pagassi Torino, whatever. This is the Lamborghini Countach. This gets featured occasionally in the race playlist. I like the Lamborghini Countach. It's a cool car. But I mainly featured it, I mainly have it because it's a solid racer. And for the occasional sports classics race, you gotta have it. Next up is it's based on, I forgot what the name is. Jester. Okay, the Jester Rr. This is based off the Toyota Supra. The new Supra. This one here came out in the was it the Tuner DLC? I got it in the Tuner DLC. So yeah, I put it in that storage that garage, and it only got moved when I bought the Neon. So this one here is up there. It's a very, very awesome car. I love driving it. Doesn't really get raced in the place. Again, it's not as quick as some of the other sports cars, but it's good. Next up, a prime sports car. This is the Gauntlet RSX, a Ferrari. This, of course, is red with the Italian flag on it. This here is actually a sports car, not a supercar. When I initially bought it, I thought it was. It's based on the whatever the replacement for the 458 is. I forgot the name of it. 488. Okay, yeah, this is based on the Ferrari 488. Kind of surprised it's not a supercar because the Ferrari 488 is a supercar. But it is in the sports car category. Next up is the Progen Tauros, based on the McLaren F1 from the 90s. At one point, the fastest car in the world. Progen Tauros, brilliant car. Came out with the Cunning Stunts update. And I had it off and on. I bought it, sold it, sold it. And it's back here. I believe I may have repurchased it for episode 100 of the Race Plus. That was a throwback back in 2020. And next up is the Paragon Armored. Paragon R Armored. I believe you got this from completing the Casino DLC heist. I'm pretty sure it had a connection with that. Pretty awesome with the guns in the headlights. And it's a little armored, so it's nice to... It's a quick car to drive, and it's good to use when you're messing with people in a online lobby.
What's good, y'all? It's Wanyá. I do art. Follow me on all my socials. Instagram, Etsy. That's about it.
All right. We moved on to the next level here of the garage. And next up is the Pagassi Tauros. This is based on the Lamborghini Urus. Kind of a cool little SUV. Not really much else to say about it besides that it's an SUV. This is also the all orange level. I used to not put as much variation into the cars as I do now. So that's why that's like that. This is the Ocelot Jugular. This is based on a Jaguar. I believe this is more the F-Type than the previous one. Quite a fun little car. Not really, again, feature much in sports car races, but it's there. This is the Vapid Thrax, which is the Bugatti Chiron. I believe this is the Super Sport Chiron or something like that. It's more improved Chiron because the Nero is the original one. So I believe that's what this is. Next up is the Pagassi Zentorno. I believe this is based on a Lamborghini Aventador. This was the car that I raced the most before the T20, which the race was did not exist before the T20, so we didn't really get these in Zentorno era. But the time that I played before before the playlist era, so I used to race it quite a lot. Bought it, sold it, rebought it for the throwback episodes in 2020, or the throwback episode in 2020. Next is the Hby 8F Drafter, based on some Audi. It's quite fun to drive, though. I definitely enjoy this car. I don't know what it is. I don't know Audis, so can't really tell you. Next up is the Vapid Dominator Gtx, based on the newest Mustang. It's quite cool. I mean, it's a Mustang. It's dank. It's awesome. Next up is the Bravado Gauntlet Hellfire. My main muscle car. This is based on the Dodge Hellcat. Charger Hellcat. This thing is awesome. Now, I think I'm going to modify it a little bit. Make some changes to it, but I like it. That's gonna. It needs a little upgrade. If it's featured so much in the playlist just to be orange. Like most of the cars have some hint of color to them. I mean, I love orange, but I've definitely moved on from the cars just being orange, as you can tell by most of the garage. Next up, this is the mostly rally level of cars. The first up is the Comet Safari. New addition here to the garage. This is my newest car in this section. Comet Safari was added recently. It's a car that Wanyá pulled out, sort of surprisingly, in a non-playlist race. And I was like, well, I gotta buy it. Most of the time we buy cars to keep up with each other. It's kind of unfortunate that's how it works, but I mean, when one person gets a car, you kind of have to buy that car to keep up with them. And he bought it, and this thing is very, very quick for a rally car. Next up is another one that he bought. This is the Winnie Izzy Sport, based on the Rally Mini Cooper. And, well, it's quite awesome, and I do need to change up the colors in the livery. I like to keep this car a little different, so by the time you see it in the race post, which will even be before this episode, because that gets recorded on its own schedule from everything else, this car will be different, but I do enjoy it nonetheless. Next up is the Vapid Gb 200, based on the old Subaru Impreza STI, or not STI, yeah, it's STI, rally cars back from the early 2000s, I believe. Late 90s, early 2000s. This one here is absolutely brilliant. I'm a fan of Subarus, so I'm going to have most of the Subarus that are here. I own a Subaru as my actual car in real life, so I enjoy Subarus. I always have since I was young. That's what my parents had. Basically forever. Since 2005, I've been in Subarus. So I've had a lot to do with it. School projects back in the day. Car dealership actually gave me a remote control car back in 2006, so I did a school research project on Subaru. So I've always enjoyed them. So this year's quite a special car, as is the Karen Sultan Classic. Again, another Subaru here. The WRX STI. This one here is another rally one. This is the early 2000. This is 2004. This is cool. This is very similar to the one that I have, the remote control car, but a little older, but still quite cool. Next up is the Vapid Flash GT, based on the Ford Fiesta rally car, and I love the Ford Fiesta. I mean, I named my cat Fiesta after that. So, yeah, I had that much I liked the Fiesta that I named a cat that. So, I always kept it black because of her, and recently in the playlist I've added, a livery to it for the race post, but I still want to keep it black to honor her. So it's always going to be a black car, even though it has a little bit of a livery on it now. Next up is the Ubermec Zion Classic, with the Princess Robot Bubblegum anime thought design on it. I have it because Wanyá made a list of rally cars, and we were buying new rally cars, and I didn't realize that this one here wasn't actually a sports car, so it's a sports classic. So I have it though, and this is the Bravado Gauntlet Classic Custom. This is based on the old Dodge Superbird with the wing, Richard Petty car. That's what this is. It's dank. I love it. That's all I gotta say on that car, but it's there. So, yeah. So let's head down these stairs and work our way to garage number 2. Now, this one here, again, we're gonna go through garage 2 even faster because these are even more spare cars. Like, I think only 2 of these really get ever seen in the race playlist, so we're going to go through these quite quick. First up are the the Class A Hot Ring Saber. This here is, of course, the NASCAR cars. I believe it's based on the Chevy Lumina from back in the 90s. That's what it looks similar to. A little bit. Kind of like that Gen 4 NASCAR look. The 90s version of the Gen 4 car. It's pretty cool, though. We got the orange. This is the Tony Stewart car. Course, Home Depot. U-Tool is Home Depot in the game. Personally, I'm a big Tony Stewart fan, so got that. And then we get the Lager Light. Now, the Lager Light paint scheme, I think it looks like a Kevin Harvick Busch Light car, but I think there's one that's actually supposed to be something from the 90s, though. Alright, yeah, we can see here what they're based off of. The U-Tool is based on the 2007 Tony Stewart livery. Oh, you saw the Lucky Plucker one. That was kind of cool. This one's supposed to be a Ward Burton MBNA car? What the hell? I don't see it, if I'm honest. I see a little bit maybe with the numbers, but I don't see the rest of it. I've seen the Lager Light, definitely reminds me of that Kevin Harvick car more than anything. But it's kind of cool to go through here and see what these are all based on. I might go through and maybe change this one up, the Lager Light one, because there's definitely a few cool ones in here that I might want to try out. But yeah, either way, next up is the Fister Comet SR. It's based on a Porsche 911. Porsche 911s are all the same. They're all Beetles. Let's move on. I enjoy that car, though. The Class A Tampa. It's some old muscle car. I like it, though. This is the Lamborghini Tripos Rally. This is based on the Lancia Stratos rally car from the 80s. That was absolutely killing it. So I had this again for the rally list, or the rally episodes in the race playlist. Next up is the Overflooded Morgan. It was like free or really cheap, so I can't really sell it for any value. That's why it's still here. 100% honest with you. I'd sell it, but I got like $100,000. It's not really even worth selling. Next level. This is where the original Cockette is. I sort of already explained the Cockette, but here's the original one. Next up is the Massacre Race Car. And also, as you notice, the newer cars, it's a lot easier to tell what they're based on compared to the old ones. It's a little harder on some of those cars. This here, one of the original awesome cars that we used to race in the sports car class. Massacre Race Car was goated for a while. So, sticking with that car here. Again, that was brought back in the 2020 episode 100 kind of throwback races. Next up is the Class A Rhapsody. Now, this is based on, I think it's a Pacer. Yeah, this is an old car in GTA Online. Yeah, it's a 1970s AMC Pacer. I think it looks kind of cool. But yeah. This is the Karen Kuruma. This is the Subaru Impreza Wrx from 2015. This is the closest car that I can get that looks like my car. So I have here, it's all stock. Nothing about this car is modified. Next up is the Dubsta 6x6, which is based on the Mercedes G-Wagon 6x6. That thing was insane. So it's based on that. Pretty cool. This is a wild car. This is the Hby Nightshark. It's meant to destroy everybody. That's what it does. It's got guns. And it's armored. And then we head to the top level. What's in the top level? Alright, we have the armored Duke of Death, which is the armored Dukes. This is like one of the first armored cars. Came out with the, well, I believe it was in story mode, but it came out online. But they were definitely shifting a little bit more towards armored and military things, which were not allowed. I mean, the JWB, the old Aston Martin, I believe it's JWB is what it's called. That like didn't have the spikes and any of that stuff that it had in the story mode. Like it had guns and all that. It didn't have it online. They thought it was too powerful online. Then they released it later because it didn't matter anymore. But this year, the first armored car that was one of the first armored cars that was very wild. Jump into the PS4 edition with that. This here is the Anus Rimus. I have it because it's called the Anus Rimus. And again, it has anime thoughts on it, so it's kind of funny. Next up is the Vapid Slam van. This is based on an old Ford F-150 from back in the day. And it's really cool. I love it. It's not practical to drive, use, or anything like that, but it's cool. This is the Vapid GT, or Vapid Dominator Gtx. This is based on the old Ford Mustang Mach 1 from 1971. And it's green because it looks absolutely amazing in green. And that is my favorite muscle car, is that old Mach 1. So we got that here. Next we have the Bullock and Prairie. It's a Hyundai. It's a Korean car. It's kind of shit to drive, but I love it. It's based on an old Hyundai from early 2000s, which also were shit. But I like Korean things, and I believe this is pretty much the only Korean car in the game, so I have it for that reason. And finally, the Benefactor Panto, the only car here that's a Benefactor that is not silver, because in real life, this is not a Mercedes. This is, of course, a smart car. Smart for 2, which Smart is owned by Mercedes, or Daimler, which owns Mercedes. So that's what's a Benefactor in the game, but it's not a Mercedes, so it's going to be orange. But since the Panto is the car in front of us, also the Panto because it's just such a meme. It's kind of funny, though, so I just didn't want to sell it. But since it's here in front of us, let's drive it. Let's drive our Panto. Bro, why is shift like that? Sounds absolutely brilliant in that upshift. So we make our way towards the casino. There's only 2 cars stored there, and I believe this is kind of like the last 2 cars worth checking out. All right, Penthouse Garage. This only, again, features 2 cars. First up is the Pegasi Ignis, which has got to be based on... It's on one of the Lamborghinis. Is it that like electric one they made? I think it is. Ignis largely based on... It's a hybrid? Oh, it is. Is it hybrid? So weaponized Ignis, bro? Oh, expanded and enhanced the PS5 version. I haven't played the PS5. Wanyá doesn't have it. So I didn't move my stuff to it. I mean, I have the PS5. I'm playing on it right now. But I'm not playing that version until he gets a PS5 because I'm not going to transfer my stuff. And then, you know, we play. I don't want everything to just be transferred over. But there's a weaponized... Damn. I'm getting distracted by reading this article. Still on the weaponized one. Shit. Yeah, it's based on the Lamborghini Cyan FKP 37, which is a hybrid car. Okay. Dank. And then next up we have the Benefactor Chapter V12. I just like it. It's based on some basic Mercedes. But I don't really think that there is a real reason to know what that's based on. So apparently what I was reading, though, you have to choose which one you want to transfer to. So I can't even transfer it because I lose this data because it deletes it.
You calling for some wheels?
All right. Any other ones?
Hook you up.
I got some motorcycles. Nobody cares. I got a tank. Nobody cares. Oh, I got Jeff. Jeff is my... Oh, I don't have a depressor. Jeff is my thing.
I got stuff to do.
It is the... It's a Benefactor Glendale on some wild wheels. Jeff's kind of cool. Either way, that's that. Thank you all for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed today's garage tour. And we will see you guys in the next one.
What's good, y'all? It's Wanyá. I do art. Follow me on all my socials. Instagram, Etsy. That's about it.